Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. I won $5 million in the lottery, and on the very same day I was getting ready to tell my wife the news that would change our lives, she handed me divorce papers. My name is Daniel Brooks, and I am 32 years old. That Thursday afternoon around 6:30, I came home from my job as a senior accountant at a mid-sized firm in Dallas, Texas, with the winning ticket folded carefully inside my shirt pocket. I had checked the numbers at least 20 times on my phone throughout the day, convinced I had misread them, that it had to be some kind of mistake. $5 million. It felt unreal, like I had stepped into somebody else's life. I walked up the stairs to our apartment, already rehearsing in my head how I would tell her, imagining her face lighting up, imagining us laughing and planning together the future we thought we wanted. When I opened the door, the apartment was unusually quiet. The television was off. No music was playing. I set my briefcase down and saw my wife, Carla, sitting on the couch in the living room. She was not scrolling through her phone like she usually did after work. She sat straight-backed, hands resting on her knees, staring at the front door as if she had been waiting for me to appear. On the coffee table in front of her was a large manila envelope, the kind you associate with legal trouble or bad news from a bank. "Daniel," Carla said, and her voice sounded different, flat, rehearsed, almost bored. "We need to talk." I smiled reflexively, still buzzing with my secret, still thinking about the lottery ticket burning against my chest. "I need to tell you something incredible, too," I said. "You should sit down," Carla interrupted, and she pointed not to the space beside her on the sofa where I always sat, but to the armchair across from her, like we were two strangers in a negotiation. I sat slowly, an uneasy knot forming in my stomach. My smile lingered a second too long on my face before dissolving. Carla picked up the envelope and held it out to me with both hands. "These are divorce papers," she said, without a pause, without softening the words, without even blinking. "I've already signed everything. I just need your signature." The world seemed to tilt. I stared at her, then at the envelope, and then back at her. Divorce? The word came out like it belonged to a different conversation, someone else's life. My hands trembled as I opened the envelope and slid out the stack of documents. There they were, legal forms, official seals, and Carla's signature in blue ink on all the pages that mattered. "What is this?" I whispered. "What are you talking about?" Carla let out a small, exasperated sigh, like she was tired of repeating herself to a stubborn child. "We have been distant for months, Daniel," Carla said. "You know that. I'm not happy anymore. I do not want to keep doing this." I blinked in confusion. "Months?" "Carla, I've been working overtime so we could go on vacation this year. I bought you that necklace you wanted for your birthday. We were literally talking last week about remodeling the kitchen. How does that add up to divorce?" "It is not enough," she snapped, cutting me off. "Nothing you do is ever enough. I'm tired of living like this. I'm tired of waiting for things to get better. I'm tired of settling for this mediocre life." The word mediocre sliced through me. "I am 32, Daniel," she continued, her voice edged with frustration as if I had personally stolen years from her. "I cannot waste my life in a marriage that is not going anywhere. I deserve something better. I deserve to be happy." I looked at her, searching her face for some trace of the woman I had fallen in love with 9 years earlier, the woman who once swore she did not care about my salary or job title, only that we build a life together. "Is there someone else?" I asked, even though part of me did not want to know. Carla looked away for the first time since I walked in. "That is irrelevant." "Of course it is relevant," I said, feeling anger begin to push through the shock. "If you're asking me for a divorce, I have the right to know whether there is another man." She crossed her arms defensively. "It is not what you think." "Then what is it?" I pressed. Carla's jaw tightened. "I met someone," she finally admitted, still refusing to meet my eyes. But nothing happened until after I decided our marriage was over. Technically, I was not unfaithful. Technically, I repeated bitterly. "Who is he?" "His name is Desmond," she said. "He is an architect. He owns his own firm. I met him at the gym 3 months ago." 3 months. The timeline dropped into place like a weight. 3 months. I echoed. So you met him right after I bought you that $500 necklace you had to have? Right after I paid for your car repairs when you backed into that pole at the mall and it wiped out most of my savings? Carla stood up abruptly, irritation flaring across her face. I'm not going to sit here while you list every little thing you have ever spent on me, she said. I did not force you to buy anything. You offered. Because I loved you, I replied, standing too. Because I thought we were building something together. Well, I do not want to keep building this, Carla said sharply, gesturing between us like our marriage was a broken shell from a discount store. Sign the papers, Daniel. Be mature about it. There is no reason to make this complicated. She expected me to beg. I could see it in the way she squared her shoulders, ready to reject apologies, ready to refuse pleas. Instead, I took a slow breath, gathered the papers, and slid them back into the envelope. I'm going to have a lawyer review these before I sign anything, I said quietly. Carla frowned. A lawyer? Why? This is a simple divorce. We have no children. There is nothing complicated here. I just want my half of what we have and to move on with my life. Your half of what we have, I repeated. Do you mean the apartment that is in my name because you did not qualify for the mortgage? Or the furniture I paid for? Or the car that is technically mine that you have been driving? She narrowed her eyes. I am your wife, Daniel. Legally, I am entitled to half of everything. We both know that. We will see what my lawyer says. I answered. Your lawyer? Carla laughed, the sound sharp and dismissive. Be serious. You can barely afford the bills. How are you going to pay a good attorney? Do not embarrass yourself. There it was, the contempt that had been simmering beneath the surface for years. In her eyes, I was just a safe placeholder, a man doing his best, but never shining bright enough for the life she imagined she deserved. When something shinier appeared in the form of Desmond the architect, she stepped over me without looking back. I'm staying at my mom's tonight, Carla announced, grabbing her purse from the side table. I am giving you until the weekend to think about this rationally. But I'm not changing my mind. Carla walked to the door, then paused and turned to look at me one last time. Just so you know, she added, Desmond and I are making plans to move in together. He has a penthouse in Uptown with a view of the park. I am finally going to have the life I deserve. With that, she left, closing the door behind her. The silence that followed was heavy, echoing in the small apartment that had held our entire shared life for 8 years. I stood in the middle of the living room, holding divorce papers in one hand while the winning lottery ticket burned in my shirt pocket. Slowly, I reached inside my shirt, pulled out the ticket, and stared at the printed numbers under the lamplight. They shimmered with possibility. $5 million. Enough to fund any version of a life she deserved. But as I stared down at the ticket, something inside me hardened. If Carla wanted to walk away from our marriage because she believed I was mediocre, she would be divorcing that version of me, the one she thought was broke and small. The man who claimed this ticket and the life that came with it would not belong to her. The next morning, I woke up on the couch, my body stiff and my mind buzzing. The manila envelope still sat on the coffee table, proof that the previous night had actually happened. Carla had really asked for a divorce. She really had another man. And I really had $5 million she knew nothing about. With my head clearer than it had been in months, I replayed the last 3 months in my mind. The late nights when Carla came home from the gym long after her usual time, the call she took on the balcony, the sudden obsession with her appearance, the expensive clothes, the way she dressed up just to run errands. I had ignored the signs, telling myself she just wanted change. I had been naive. That ended now. I picked up my phone and scrolled to the number of Elliot Barnes, a divorce attorney I had met at an accounting conference several years earlier. He had a reputation for being sharp, aggressive, and thorough. I dialed his number, my heart pounding. Barnes Law. A receptionist answered. This is Elliot. A deep voice came on the line a moment later. Mr. Barnes, it is Daniel Brooks, I said. We met at the Dallas Accounting Symposium a few years ago. Of course, Elliot replied. The numbers guy from North Park Financial. What can I do for you, Daniel? My wife gave me divorce papers yesterday, I said. She already signed them and wants me to sign as soon as possible. Before I do, I need someone to go over everything with me. And there is something else you need to know. Do you have children? Elliot asked. No, I said. Any shared property? The apartment is in my name, I explained. She did not qualify for the mortgage when we bought it 6 years ago. All right, Elliot said. Other significant assets? I hesitated, then inhaled. I just won a large lottery prize, I said quietly. $5 million. She does not know. There was a silence on the other end, then a soft whistle. Interesting, Elliot said. When did you win? The ticket is from 2 days ago, I replied. I checked the numbers yesterday, before I came home. She handed me the divorce papers right as I was about to tell her. Have you claimed the prize yet? Not yet. Good. Elliot said, his voice steady and focused. Do not claim anything until we meet. Come to my office at 11 this morning. Bring the papers she gave you and the ticket. We will make sure your wife does not touch a cent. I hung up feeling an unexpected sense of calm. For the first time since Carla had handed me that envelope, I felt like I had some control over my life again. I went to work as usual that morning, though focusing on spreadsheets and emails felt almost impossible. My colleagues noticed I was distracted, but no one asked questions. At 10:30, I told my boss, Mr. Turner, that I had a personal matter and needed to leave for a few hours. He nodded sympathetically, unaware that the rest of my life was about to be rewritten. Elliot's office was on the 20th floor of a high-rise in downtown Dallas, all glass and polished wood with framed certificates on the walls. A receptionist ushered me into his office as soon as I arrived. Daniel, Elliot said, standing to shake my hand. Have a seat. Let me see what we are dealing with. I handed him the manila envelope and the lottery ticket. He studied the divorce documents carefully, underlining sections, jotting notes in a legal pad. Then he examined the ticket, checking dates and small printed codes. After what felt like 20 minutes of silence, he leaned back in his chair. All right, he said. Here is the technical side. Right now, you and your wife are still legally married. Generally, any significant income or assets acquired during the marriage belong to the marital estate, including lottery winnings. My stomach dropped. So she is entitled to the money? I said, generally, Elliot replied, raising a hand. But your wife did you a very unexpected favor. Elliot flipped a few pages and pointed at a paragraph halfway down one of the documents. Right here, he said, this section states that both parties waive any claim to each other's future income or unexpected gains, including bonuses, inheritances, and prizes acquired after the divorce is finalized. It is an express divorce agreement. She is trying to get out quickly because she assumes you have nothing special coming. I stared at the text. So if I sign this, if you sign this agreement as written, Elliot said, you are waiving any claim to her future income, and she is waiving any claim to yours. Once the divorce is finalized and you claim the prize, she cannot legally go after it. The key is timing. You must not collect the prize until the divorce is complete and recorded in the system. Is that actually legal? I asked. It is a gray area, Elliot admitted, but very defensible. The key facts. The prize will be claimed after the dissolution of the marriage, and she explicitly waived future gains. Plus, this document was drafted at her request through her lawyer. She cannot claim she did not understand it. If she finds out about the ticket before the divorce is finalized? I asked. Then it becomes complicated, Elliot said. She could try to argue that the winnings were effectively part of the marital estate, since the ticket was purchased before separation. She would have some ground to ask a judge to revisit the terms. That is why you must keep this absolutely secret. Do not tell family. Do not tell friends. Do not hint at it in texts or social media. No one can know until we are done. I nodded slowly. How much will you charge to handle this? My standard fee is $5,000 for a straightforward divorce, Elliot replied. Given the stakes, my fee will be $10,000, payable after you collect the prize. Done, I said immediately. Elliot extended his hand. I shook it firmly, feeling as though I had just made the smartest decision of my life. Congratulations in advance, Daniel, he said. If we play this right, you are about to walk away from a bad marriage free and very wealthy. I left Elliot's office with a clear plan. On my way back to the apartment, I stopped at a small park and sat on a bench for a few minutes, staring straight ahead while people walked their dogs and jogged past me. The contrast between their ordinary routines and the storm inside my life was almost amusing. By the time I walked into the apartment that afternoon, Carla was back. She was in our bedroom, stuffing clothes into 2 large suitcases. She looked up, startled but quickly composed herself. "Where have you been?" she asked. "Working," I lied, shrugging out my jacket. "What are you doing?" "Packing," she said. "Desmond is coming to get me in about an hour. I am staying with him while we finalize everything." "That was fast," I said. She ignored the comment and kept folding clothes. "Have you thought about the papers?" she asked. I took the envelope from my backpack and set on the bed. "I signed them," I said. Carla froze, then grabbed the envelope and flipped through the pages, checking each for my signature. When she was satisfied, she looked up at me with thinly veiled relief and something that almost resembled triumph. "Thank you for not making this difficult," she said. Her tone carried a hint of disappointment, as if part of her had wanted the drama of watching me fall apart. "My lawyer will file everything on Monday." "Perfect," I said. "That is it then? You're not going to say anything else?" she asked. "What do you want me to say, Carla?" I replied, "You have made your feelings about me and our life together very clear. I'm not going to beg you to stay. You want something else? Go get it." For a brief second, something flickered across her face. Guilt, maybe, or doubt, but it vanished just as quickly, replaced by her usual cool resolve. "This is better for both of us," Carla said, zipping one suitcase closed. "You deserve someone who truly appreciates you. I deserve to be happy. I hope Desmond's penthouse is everything you dreamed." I answered. "It will be," she said without hesitation. "He is everything you never were." The doorbell rang. Carla nearly ran to answer it. When she opened the door, I saw him for the first time. Desmond, tall and polished in a fitted blazer, his watch gleaming, his cologne drifting into the apartment before he did. "Hey, baby," he said, kissing Carla with an easy familiarity that made it clear this was not new. Then he glanced at me. "You must be Daniel." I said nothing. I just met his gaze, expression blank. Carla laughed awkwardly. "Desmond, can you grab the suitcases?" she asked. He stepped inside like he already owned the place, lifting both suitcases with casual strength and carrying them toward the hallway. Carla lingered in the doorway and turned to face me one last time. "I will send someone for the rest of my things next week," she said, "and my lawyer will be in touch about dividing what we have." "Whatever you want," I replied. "Goodbye, Daniel." "Goodbye, Carla." After 9 years together, 8 of them married, that was how it ended. 2 words at the doorway, and then she was gone. When the door closed, I sat on the couch and pulled out my phone. I opened the Texas Lottery app and checked the numbers again. $5 million just sitting there, waiting to be claimed. All I had to do was wait out a bureaucratic clock and keep my mouth shut. The next few days blurred together. On Monday, Elliot called to confirm he had filed the divorce papers. "Everything looks clean," he said. "Because your wife's attorney drafted these terms, a judge is likely to approve them without any issues. You are looking at about 28 business days before the divorce is finalized." 28 days, I repeated. 28 days, Elliot said. "Do not talk about that ticket to anyone." I promised I would not. That night, my phone buzzed with a call from my older sister, Monica. "Is it true?" she asked immediately. "Mom said Carla left." She heard it from Carla's mother. "Why do we have to find out like this?" I exhaled. "It is true," I said. "We are getting divorced." "What happened?" Monica asked. "Is there any way to fix it?" "There is nothing to fix," I said. "She is with someone else. She made her choice." "With someone else?" Monica's voice rose. "Since when?" 3 months, I said. "His name is Desmond. Some big-shot architect with a fancy condo." There was a long pause on the line. "I cannot believe she did that to you," Monica said finally. "I thought she was better than that." "So did I replied. "Do you need anything?" she asked. "I can come stay with you for a few days." "I appreciate it," I said, "but I just need some time to think. I will call Mom tomorrow." After I hung up, I turned my phone off. I did not have the energy to explain the same story to every family member and friend. The next morning, my boss called me into his office. "Daniel, I heard you were going through a divorce," Mr. Turner said. "I'm sorry you were dealing with that. If you need a lighter workload or some time off, let me know." Thank you, I said. I think staying busy will help. Mr. Turner cleared his throat. On another note, he added, we have been discussing expanding the accounting department. We are creating a senior manager role. Your performance has been excellent. Are you interested? A week earlier, that offer would have felt like the best news of my year. Recognition of my hard work, a raise, a step forward. Now, with millions silently waiting for me, it felt strangely small. Still, it was part of a life I had built from nothing, and I respected that. Yes, I said. I am interested. Thank you. We will finalize details next week, he said, smiling. Life somehow kept moving. A few nights later, while I was eating takeout on the couch, my phone vibrated with a text from an unknown number. When I opened it, my jaw tightened. It was a photo of Carla and Desmond at an upscale restaurant in downtown Dallas. She was wearing a new, sparkling dress. Desmond had his arm around her, smiling confidently. Underneath, the caption read, "Living my best life. Thanks for letting me go." I stared at the photo, anger rising in my chest. She had sent it to hurt me, to prove how quickly she had upgraded her life, to rub it in that she believed she had won. My first instinct was to reply with a screenshot of the lottery app, to tell her I had won, to blow up her perfect picture with a truth she had walked away from. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, then stopped. Elliot's warning echoed in my mind. 28 days. 24 now. I deleted the photo and blocked the number she used. She could enjoy her illusion for a few more weeks. On Friday night, I decided I needed to get out of the apartment. I went to a bar I used to visit with college friends, a small place with soft lighting and jazz playing in the background. I took a seat at the bar and ordered a beer, feeling more like an observer in my own life than a participant. I was halfway through my second beer when someone slid onto the stool beside me. "Daniel Brooks?" a woman's voice said. I turned and blinked in surprise. "Nicole Harris?" I asked. She laughed. "I cannot believe you remember my last name," she said. Nicole and I had studied accounting together at the University of North Texas. We had worked on group projects and stayed in touch for a year or two after graduation. Then life pulled us in different directions. She looked a little older now, of course, but there was still warmth in her eyes. "How are you?" she asked. "Are you still married to Carla?" The question landed harder than she intended. "Actually, we are getting divorced," I said. "Oh," she said quickly. "I am sorry. I did not know." "It is all right," I said. It was her decision. Nicole ordered a drink, and we ended up talking for hours, catching up on work and old classmates. She told me she worked at another firm across town, and that she had been briefly married but divorced 2 years earlier. "You know the strangest part of divorce?" Nicole said after a while. "You realize the person you were living with was someone you only thought. You knew." I nodded slowly. "Exactly," I said. "It is like waking up and realizing your life was one long miscalculation. But it is also freeing," she said. "It means you get to figure out who you are without that person's expectations weighing you down." Her words lodged in my chest. For the first time since Carla had walked out, I felt something like possibility instead of just loss. "Do you want another drink?" I asked. "Only if you promise we will not wait another 10 years to talk again," Nicole said, smiling. "Promise," I said. We exchanged numbers before leaving. There was nothing romantic in it, just a mutual recognition between two people who had survived similar storms and were still standing. When I walked back into my quiet apartment that night, I felt slightly less alone. The following Monday, Elliot called with an update. "The judge has approved the filing," he said. "Because it is an uncontested divorce with no children, everything is moving faster than usual. Your final hearing is scheduled in 10 days. After that, you'll be officially divorced." 10 days, I echoed. 10 days, he confirmed. "After that, you are free to claim a prize. Carla will have no legal grounds." That night, I allowed myself, for the first time, to really think about what I would do with the money. I pictured quitting my job, buying a house somewhere quiet outside the city, traveling across the country, maybe even starting something of my own. And somewhere in those daydreams floated an image of Carla's face when she eventually discovered what she had walked away from. I knew it was petty, but the thought of her realizing the magnitude of her mistake made enduring the next 10 days a little easier. The day of the final hearing came faster than I expected. It was a gray, rainy Tuesday when I drove to the courthouse downtown with Elliot. My stomach fluttered, not from fear but from anticipation. "Nervous?" Elliot asked as we stepped out of the car. "Not as much as I thought I would be," I admitted. Inside the courthouse, we passed through security and walked to the family courtroom waiting area. Carla was already there, sitting on a bench with her attorney, a woman in a navy suit. Carla wore a cream pantsuit, her hair neat, makeup flawless. She looked composed, almost bored, as if this was just another appointment on her schedule. When she saw me, our eyes met briefly. There was no sadness there, no regret, just a cool indifference. I sat with Elliot on the opposite side of the room. As we waited, I heard Carla's attorney ask, "That is your husband?" "Yes," Carla replied. "Do not worry. He is not going to make this difficult. He just wants to get it over with." "Are you sure there are no hidden assets?" her attorney whispered. "Any accounts I should know about?" Carla laughed softly. "Believe me," she said, "Daniel is completely transparent. He earns $35,000 a year as an accountant, has less than $5,000 in savings, and the apartment he can barely afford. There is nothing hidden." Each word was a small insult disguised as fact. It stung to hear my life summed up that way, but at the same time, it confirmed something important. She still had no idea. Elliot touched my arm lightly, a reminder to stay calm. A few minutes later, a court officer stepped out and called our names. We followed him into a small courtroom. The judge, a man in his 60s with silver hair and tired eyes, flipped through our file. "Good morning," he said. "I have reviewed the petition for divorce between Carla Brooks and Daniel Brooks. Both parties have signed and agreed to the terms presented. There are no minor children involved, and the division of assets has been accepted by both sides. Is that correct?" "Yes, Your Honor," Carla's attorney said. "Yes, Your Honor," Elliot added. The judge glanced at us over his glasses. "Do both parties understand they are waiving any claims to each other's future income and unexpected gains?" he asked. "Yes, Your Honor," Carla said. "Yes, Your Honor," I replied. "Mr. Brooks," the judge continued, "are you agreeing to these terms freely and without coercion?" "I am," I said. "Mrs. Brooks, are you agreeing freely as well?" "Yes," Carla answered. The judge signed the papers with a few swift strokes of his pen. "By the authority vested in me by the state of Texas," he said, "I declare the marriage between Carla Brooks and Daniel Brooks dissolved. This divorce is effective immediately. Good day." 5 minutes. That was all it took to end 8 years of marriage. We walked out into the hallway. Carla paused and turned to me. "I hope you find what you are looking for, Daniel," she said in a tone that sounded polite but faintly condescending, as if she doubted I ever would. "You too, Carla," I replied. She nodded, turned away, and walked down the corridor with her lawyer. Elliot and I stepped out into the light rain. "Congratulations," he said. "You are officially a free man. Now we move on to the second part, making you a free and wealthy man." "What is next?" I asked. "We give it 24 hours for the paperwork to be fully recorded in the system," Elliot said. "Tomorrow at this time, you go to the Texas Lottery Commission office downtown, present your ticket, and claim your prize. At that point, you're no longer married. Carla has no claim to that money. And if she finds out before I get there?" I asked. "It does not matter now," he said. "The divorce is final, and she waived future earnings. Even if she found out and tried to cause trouble, she would not have a legal leg to stand on." That night, I opened the small fireproof safe in my closet and took out the ticket. I held it under the light, tracing the numbers with my finger. Tomorrow, everything would change. I lay awake most of the night, my mind flickering between excitement and anxious what-ifs. What if I had misread the ticket? What if there was some technicality disqualifying me? What if this was all some elaborate misunderstanding? The next morning, I put on my best suit and drove to the Texas Lottery Commission headquarters, a tall building of glass and steel with a state flag fluttering out front. Inside, security guards watched the lobby. I approached the reception desk. "Good morning," the woman there said. "How can I help you?" "I am here to claim a prize," I said, pulling the ticket from an inner pocket. Her eyes widened slightly when she saw the amount. "One moment," she said. "I will call our major prize coordinator." A few minutes later, a man in a dark suit approached. Mr. Brooks? He asked. I am Michael Mendoza. Please come with me. He led me to a private office on an upper floor, where a scanner and a computer waited on a conference table. First, we will verify the ticket, Mendoza said, feeding it into the scanner. A green light flicked on and the machine beeped. Mendoza smiled. Congratulations, Mr. Brooks, he said. You have won $5 million. Hearing it out loud did something to me. The room felt suddenly brighter and strangely far away. Mendoza continued, businesslike. We will need some documents, photo identification, proof of address, and you will need to complete some forms for tax purposes, he said. I handed over my driver's license and a utility bill and spent the next hour filling out paperwork while he explained how the payout worked. After federal and state taxes, your net will be approximately $3.7 million, he said. You can receive the money as a lump sum or as annual payments over 20 years. Lump sum, I said automatically. Mendoza nodded. We will transfer the funds to your bank account within 5 business days, he said. There is one more item. By state law, major prize winners must allow their name and photograph to be made public. We will do a brief photo and a short quote for our website and press release. Publicity. My heart gave a small leap. When will that be released? I asked. Typically within a week, Mendoza said. Local media often pick it up. I agreed, signed the last page, and followed him to a small studio room where a photographer took several pictures of me holding a giant ceremonial check with my name printed across it. They asked me for a short statement about how I felt. I said something generic about being grateful and wanting to use the money wisely. Then it was done. On my way out of the building, I called Elliot. It is official, I said. They verified the ticket. The money will be in my account next week. Excellent, he said. And the publicity? They will release it within a week, I said. Perfect timing, Elliot replied. You will be financially secure and legally protected before your ex-wife even processes what happened. When I checked my bank account the following Monday, the numbers on the screen almost made my knees buckle. Where there had been a modest savings balance the week before, there was now $3,700,000 sitting in my account. I stared at it, half expecting the digits to rearrange themselves into something more reasonable. They did not. The first thing I did was open a separate investment account and transfer $500,000 into it. I made an appointment with a financial advisor that Elliot recommended, planning to spread the money across safe investments, index funds, municipal bonds, and a few stable stocks. I called Mr. Turner and told him I needed to talk. Of course, he said. Is everything all right? I'm going to accept the promotion you offered, I said, but I'm also going to request a month of vacation. I have some personal matters I want to take care of. You have certainly earned it, he said. We will make it work. A few days later, the Texas Lottery Commission released its press statement. Dallas accountant wins $5 million jackpot, the headline read. There was my picture, smiling awkwardly, holding the giant check. They quoted me saying, "It feels like a dream. I am grateful and plan to be responsible with this blessing." Within hours, local news stations picked it up. People started sharing the article on social media. My phone lit up with calls and messages. Monica was one of the first to call. "Daniel," she shouted when I answered. "Is this real? You won the lottery." "It is real," I said, smiling. "When?" she demanded. "How long have you known?" "I bought the ticket the same day Carla gave me the divorce papers," I said. I was on my way home to tell her when she handed them to me. There was a stunned silence. "Does she know?" Monica asked. "She did not," I said. "But she will now." "This is unreal," Monica said. "She walked out on you right before this. I cannot even imagine how she is going to react." "I have a pretty good idea," I said quietly. The reaction came faster than I expected. 2 nights later, around 10 in the evening, my phone started buzzing with Carla's name on the screen. I let it ring until it went to voicemail. It rang again. I ignored it. She called 5 times in a row. Then the call stopped and the text began. "We need to talk," Carla wrote. "This is urgent." I stared at the message and put the phone face down. 5 minutes later, another text arrived. "I know you saw the news," she wrote. "We have to discuss this. It is not fair that you are ignoring me. We were married 8 years. You owe me at least a conversation." Another message followed. Daniel, please. I made a mistake. We can fix this. We could try again. I still love you. I read that last line 3 times. Love had not stopped her from walking out when she thought I had nothing. It was not love calling me now. It was regret and fear. I blocked her number. The next morning, Elliot called. Carla's attorney reached out, he said. They want to discuss the possibility of reopening the divorce settlement because of newly discovered assets. They mentioned annulment. I told them there was no basis. The prize was claimed after the divorce, and she signed away any rights to future income. They have nothing. So what do we do? I asked. Exactly what you are already doing, Elliot replied. Do not engage. If they file something, we respond. If they just threaten and posture, we ignore them. Legally, they're grasping at air. Later that week, I took my first real day off since the whole nightmare began. I drove to a quiet coffee shop in Fort Worth where I knew no one would recognize me. I ordered a black coffee and sat at a corner table, half reading a book and half staring out the window at people going about ordinary lives. Daniel, a familiar voice said. I looked up to see Nicole standing there with a to-go cup in hand. Nicole, I said, smiling. Twice in 1 month. Fate is getting bold. She laughed and sat across from me when I invited her. So, she said, I saw the news. There is no way I'm not saying something. Congratulations. $5 million. That is incredible. Thank you, I said. It still feels unreal. Let me guess, Nicole said. Your ex-wife is suddenly very interested in talking. I cannot help laughing. You have a talent for predicting people, I said. It is not talent, she replied. It is experience. I have seen this story play out too many times. She left because she thought you were a dead end, and now that you are not, she wants to rewrite history. She has called, I admitted, and texted, and had her lawyer threaten legal action. And what are you going to do? Nicole asked, studying me. Nothing, I said. The divorce is final. The money is mine. There is nothing left to discuss. Nicole lifted her cup slightly. That is what I like to hear, she said. Poetic justice. We spent the afternoon talking. She told me more about the difficult first year after her own divorce and how she had eventually built a life she liked on her own terms. The best thing about having some money, she said, is not what you can buy. It is the freedom to say no, the freedom not to tolerate disrespect just because you are afraid of being alone. Her words stayed with me long after I left the cafe. That Sunday afternoon, I was at home cleaning up the kitchen when the doorbell rang. I was not expecting anyone. When I looked through the peephole, my chest tightened. Carla stood in the hallway, her eyes red and puffy. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and she had on jeans and a sweatshirt instead of her usual carefully planned outfits. She rang the bell again, more insistently. Daniel, I know you were there, she called. Please, just give me 5 minutes. I need to explain. I stayed silent, my back against the wall. Daniel, please, she continued, her voice cracking. I made a terrible mistake, but we can fix this. I still love you. I do not care about the money. I just want us back. The words echoed in the small hallway, muffled by the door between us. I thought about opening it, about listening, about finally saying all the things I had rehearsed in my head during sleepless nights. Then I thought about the restaurant photo, the word mediocre, the way she never looked back when she rolled her suitcases away. I stayed quiet. After several more minutes of knocking and pleading, Carla's footsteps retreated down the stairs. I watched from the peephole as she walked out of the building, wiping her face with the back of her hand. A small part of me felt something like pity. The larger part felt a cold, calm certainty. She had made her choices. The next morning, Elliot called again. Carla filed a civil suit, he said. She's alleging that you concealed assets during the divorce and asking the court to annul the settlement. Can she do that? I asked. She can file anything she wants, Elliot said. But this is not going anywhere. The timeline is clear. The prize was claimed after the divorce. The waiver of future income is clear. It is a last-ditch attempt. We will show up, present the facts, and the judge will dismiss it. How long will that take? A month or so, he said. In the meantime, your money is safe. It is already in your accounts in your name. There is nothing anyone can do about that. A few weeks later, we stood in another courtroom. Carla sat with her lawyer a few benches away. She looked thinner and more tired than before, dark circles under her eyes. When the judge asked her attorney to explain, the woman argued that I had deliberately hidden the lottery ticket, violating Carla's rights as a spouse. Elliot stood, calm and precise, and laid out the dates. The day of the ticket purchase, the day Carla handed me the divorce papers, the day the divorce was finalized, the day the prize was claimed. He showed the signed waiver of future income. At the time of the divorce, Elliot said, there was no prize, only the possibility of one. My client acted within his rights at all times, and Mrs. Brooks voluntarily signed away any claim to his future gains. The judge flipped through the documents and nodded. This lawsuit has no legal merit, he said at last. The motion is dismissed. The divorce remains final. Carla let out a soft sob. As we exited the courtroom, Elliot leaned close. It is over, he said. She cannot do anything else. I walked toward the parking garage, my footsteps echoing on the concrete. Daniel, wait, Carla called behind me. I stopped, but did not turn right away. When I did, she was already in front of me, her face streaked with tears. Please, she said, just listen to me for 1 minute. There is nothing I need to hear, I said. I made a mistake, she said. The worst mistake of my life. But it was never about the money, not at first. When I left, I thought I wanted something different, something more exciting. I thought I needed someone like Desmond. But I realized too late that what I needed was what I had with you. Did you realize that before or after you saw the lottery news? I asked quietly. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her eyes dropped. That is what I thought, I said. When you asked me for a divorce, you told me our life was mediocre, that I was ordinary, that you deserved better. You were right about one thing. You do deserve something, exactly what you chose. A life without me. Daniel, please, Carla said. I know I hurt you, but can you not forgive me? We were married 8 years. Does that not mean anything to you? It meant everything to me, I said. You were my whole world, but to you it was never enough. As soon as you thought you could get more somewhere else, you walked out without looking back. Forgiveness is not the same thing as going back. I can forgive you, but I do not ever want to live like that again. Desmond left me, she whispered. 2 weeks after the lawsuit was dismissed, he said he did not want to be part of the drama. He said I deserved to lose everything for being so foolish. On that point, I said, and I finally agree. How can you be so cruel? She asked, tears welling again. I'm not being cruel, I said gently. I'm being honest. For years, I let your opinion of me define my worth. I accepted the idea that I was not enough. Winning the lottery did not give me value. It just gave me the freedom to see I had value all along. I walked past her toward my car. I heard her sobbing behind me, but I did not look back. That was the day I realized something important. The real prize was not the money. It was the ability to walk away from someone who had never truly seen me. 6 months later, my life looked completely different. I accepted the promotion at work and stayed for 3 more months, long enough to leave on excellent terms and collect a few larger paychecks I no longer needed. I sat down with my new financial advisor and put most of my money into conservative investments designed to generate steady income for the rest of my life. I bought a modest but beautiful house on the outskirts of Dallas with a yard, a small patio, and a quiet view of distant hills. It was not a penthouse with glass walls and a city skyline view. It was better. It felt like mine. For the first time, I woke up in a space that felt peaceful instead of tense. I took some of the money and traveled, but I kept all my destinations within the United States as I had promised myself. I spent a week in New Orleans listening to live jazz and eating food so good it made me close my eyes. I went to San Diego and walked along the ocean every morning. I visited Seattle and watched the sun set behind the mountains, the sky streaked in purple and orange. I spent a few days in Savannah, wandering shaded streets lined with old trees and quiet parks. During those trips, I did not post pictures online. I did not check who was watching my life. I realized that the sweetest parts of success are the ones that do not need an audience. While I traveled, I exchanged messages regularly with Nicole. Our friendship deepened. When I returned from Seattle, she met me for dinner and asked about my trip in detail, genuinely interested, not impressed by the money, but curious about the experience. A few months after that, Nicole and I took a short trip together to Charleston. We walked along the waterfront, toured historic houses, and spent long evenings talking over dinner. One night, we sat on a bench watching the water move slowly under the streetlights. "You know what I respect about you most?" Nicole said. "You do not let the money turn you into someone else." "I have the same clothes," I said, looking down at my jeans. She laughed. "I am serious," she said. "Some people would take that money and set out to prove something, to show everyone they're important now. You just used it to give yourself room to breathe." "Money does not change who you are," I said. "It just amplifies what was already there. If you're selfish, you become more selfish. If you're decent, you have more chances to act decently. I am trying hard to be in the second category." "You're doing a good job," Nicole said. She bumped her shoulder gently against mine, and I felt something warm and quiet settle between us. Back in Dallas, I decided I wanted to do something meaningful with my time beyond managing my investments and traveling. I began volunteering at a local community center, offering free financial counseling to families who were struggling. I sat with people at worn tables, helping them build budgets, explaining tax forms, outlining plans to pay off debt. Many of them had never had anyone talk to them about money without judgment. Watching them leave with a sense of direction felt more rewarding than any vacation. Eventually, I started a small foundation focused on financial education for low-income communities. It was nothing flashy, no big galas or headlines, but felt right. Around that time, Monica updated me occasionally on Carla's life. "Desmond left as soon as the lawyers were done," she said during one call. "Carla had to move back in with her parents. She lost a few friends who were tired of hearing her complain about how she ruined her life." "Do you feel anything when you hear that?" Monica asked gently. "Honestly," I said, "no, not happiness, not sadness, just distance. Like you feel when you remember a movie you watched years ago." "That sounds healthy," Monica said. A year after the divorce, I ran into Carla at a supermarket in Dallas. I was picking up ingredients for a dinner I planned to cook for Nicole in my house. I turned into the dairy aisle and nearly collided with her cart. For a second, we both froze. Carla looked different. She had gained some weight. Her clothes were simple and plain. Her hair was tidy, but not styled with the same care as before. But it was her eyes that had changed the most. There was a heaviness there, a quiet sadness she could not mask. "Hi, Daniel," she said softly. "Hi," I answered. We stood there in an awkward silence for a few seconds. Then she gave a small nod, almost like a bow, and pushed her cart past me without another word. I watched her go, waiting to feel something sharp, anger, triumph, or even nostalgia. I felt only a calm emptiness. That night, while I chopped vegetables in my kitchen, Nicole sat at the counter, sipping a glass of wine and watching me cook. "You are unusually quiet," she said. "What is on your mind?" "I saw Carla at the store today," I said. "Did you talk?" Nicole asked. "Just said hello," I replied. "That was it. How did it feel?" she asked. I thought about it. "Like seeing an old classmate from school I barely remember," I said. "No anger, no longing, just nothing." "That is how you know you healed," Nicole said. "When the person who hurt you becomes just another person moving through the world." "Maybe," I said. "Or maybe I just finally understand that whatever we had died long before the divorce papers." A few years later, I received an email from Carla. It was long, carefully written, and more honest than anything she had ever said to me while we were married. She wrote about the last few years, the regrets, the therapy she had started, the patterns she had begun to understand about herself. "I do not expect you to forgive me," she wrote, "and I certainly do not expect you to want to hear from me. But I needed you to know that I understand what I threw away now. It was not the money. It was you, a good man who loved me when I did not know how to love myself. I treated you as if you were small when you were never small. I hope you are happy, Daniel." "I truly hope so." I read the email twice and then showed it to Nicole. "Are you going to reply?" she asked. "I'm not sure," I said. Part of me wants to ignore it and keep it as the period at the end of that sentence. Another part thinks maybe she deserves to know the truth, that I am happy. "Do whatever gives you peace," Nicole said. After thinking about it for a day, I wrote back. Carla, I began, thank you for your honesty. It sounds like you have done a lot of hard work, and I respect that. I forgave you a long time ago, not because you needed it, but because I did. I found happiness with someone who values me, and I sincerely hope you find your own. Take care. She never responded, and I did not need her to. 5 years after that Thursday, when I walked into our apartment with a winning ticket in my pocket and divorce papers waiting on the table, my life was almost unrecognizable. Nicole and I had quietly built a life together. We did not rush into marriage. We took our time, getting to know each other not as people running from something, but as people walking towards something better. When I finally asked her to marry me, it was one early morning on a beach in Florida, just as the sun rose over the Atlantic. We stood barefoot in the sand, the waves curling gently at our feet. You know you do not have to ask, Nicole said when she saw the ring. I already know the answer. I want to ask anyway, I said. Will you marry me? Yes, she said, and that one word felt more solid than any promise I'd ever heard in my life. We had a small ceremony in my backyard a few months later. Only close family and real friend were there. Monica stood beside me as my witness. Elliot attended and joked that this time he would make sure the prenup was unbreakable. During her toast at the reception, Monica raised her glass and said, "My brother once thought the worst day of his life was the day his first marriage ended. It turned out that day opened the door to everything he truly needed." People laughed and wiped their eyes. It was sentimental, but it was also true. A couple of years later, Nicole and I welcomed a daughter, Leah, into our family. She grew up running around the yard of the house I bought with my lottery winnings, her laughter echoing off the fence as she chased bubbles and butterflies. I kept doing volunteer work and expanded my foundation's programs, teaching financial literacy in community centers and high schools. The investments continued to grow quietly in the background, generating enough income that I never had to worry about bills again. I drove a reliable mid-range sedan. Our house stayed modest. When we took vacations, they were meaningful, not extravagant. I no longer felt any impulse to prove anything to anyone. Sometimes on calm evenings, I sat on a back patio while Leah played with her toys in the grass, and Nicole read a book nearby. The sky over Texas turned soft orange and pink, and the air cooled. In those moments, my mind would sometimes slide back to that Thursday years ago, the envelope on the coffee table, the ticket in my pocket, Carla's voice calling our life mediocre. I would think about everything that had followed. The shock, the anger, the secrecy, the courtroom, the photo of Carla in Desmond's arms, the lottery office, the press release, the late-night calls I never answered. I would think about the strange, perfect symmetry of it all. How Carla left because she wanted more, and in leaving, she accidentally gave me the chance to have more than either of us had imagined. But most of the time, when my thoughts drifted that way, they did not stay there long. I would look over at Nicole, whose quiet strength and steady kindness anchored our little family. I would watch Leah stumble and then get back up, determined to run again. I would feel the solid wood of the chair beneath me, the gentle weight of the life I had built piece by piece after everything fell apart. And I would realize that although the money had changed my circumstances, it was not what had healed me. What healed me was choosing myself when someone else decided I was not enough. What healed me was learning that my worth was not tied to anyone's opinion. Not Carla's, not Desmond's, not strangers who read headlines about lottery winners. The ticket gave me freedom. The betrayal gave me clarity. What I did with both is what gave me the life I have now. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.